Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for one man, forget my peace. You take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Man's so tough, but man's keep walking. Yeah, just too sharp with the prize. White girls, let it tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
The Miami Heat have won 6 straight. The Panthers have won 5 straight. Skip Schumacher is manager of the year. And as an added bonus local hour celebration, we've got 2 grid of death punishments being served right now. Roy is wearing vampire teeth. Roy, can you please give me as much information as you can before we get to David Samson on Sam Reinhart having the strongest start in the history of the Florida Panthers?
Yeah, he's basically in the running for the Hart Trophy at this point. Top 10 in goal scoring, top 10 in points. So it's big time season for him right now.
I'm hoping to talk to Roy more on today's show than I ever have. Stugotz is allegedly doing a grid of death punishment. I heard in the other room that it had accessories and that all he had to do was be shirtless.
That was a different one. I mean,
I would understand if you didn't want to be shirtless.
I'm gross. I mean.
But what are you doing right now? What is your costume? This doesn't seem like much of a grid of death punishment. You have put on a hoodie and you've just said it seems snug because 34s aren't made the same they used to the way they used to be.
They're not making XLs like they used to, Dan. This is an XL and it is snug. The pants even more snug. I am Rocky. I'm supposed to be doing a Rocky 4 workout video. But this is what they gave me, so I'm wearing it. I mean,
all right. So the actual punishment where you have to run around and have your heart pump for a little bit is coming because right now this looks rather comfortable. Not an actual punishment. You're just in a hoodie.
It's something I would wear, double XL, but it's something I would wear. You're right.
It's not. I mean,
you look like E.T.
That's the other thing.
Well, thank you.
It's not much of a punishment. More of a punishment is Roy Bellamy having to speak through vampire teeth. Just out of curiosity, the Panthers, Roy, are legitimately good again. We know this already. Yes, we are. We have enough of a sample to know this.
Yes, absolutely. And they're going to get better. They're not even fully healthy yet.
That is David Samson in the background. Nothing personal. I urge you to find it if
David.
you want something to watch or listen to before we start our day. He goes live every morning at 8 a.m. A number of things that I want to talk to you about. The first is the A's and owners relocating to Las Vegas, or the idea of it. What's real here? What's posturing? What's a lie? You are on record as saying that that move is not going to happen.
Well, I am alone on an island. Everyone assumes, and you're going to see headlines, so get ready. The owners are meeting right now in Arlington, and there's going to be a vote. And the vote is for the relocation of the A's to Vegas. However, that doesn't mean the A's are relocating to Vegas. That vote is required in order for relocation to happen, but it is not the final step. It is merely the next step. There have to be all those agreements, construction agreements, operating agreements, non-relocation agreements, agreements between MGM and the A's over how that building's going to get built. And there's all sorts of hurdles still existing, but Rob Manfred wants to get the vote out of the way so they don't have to think about it anymore. And that's what's happening in Arlington right now.
I don't know if people can hear the fire alarm, but we are going to go right through it because we're on live, and one of these days we're going to burn live on television. We're going to leave here looking like stuntmen with our backs on fire because we ignore all of these fire alarms. But just to be clear, David, Are you worried at this point of how alone you are because of how wrong you might appear to be here by saying that this is all largely business posturing and moves like this are rare? You know it. You've lived it.
Yeah, I worry about getting sick. I don't worry about being wrong with something like this, only in that I can tell you that in my experience, while John Fisher can say all he wants, that he couldn't get a deal done in Oakland, he's run out of patience. He's been trying for 18 years. He said that to a bunch of fans. I covered this on Nothing Personal this morning. John Fisher walked into the owners' meetings, and he was met by 3 fans, and he actually stopped and talked to them. I give him credit for that. And he said, hey, I've been trying for 18 years. Well, I think that math is a little rough, and I think when you're trying to move the team to San Jose, that doesn't count as trying to keep the team in Oakland. And I do know that if they wanted to stay in Oakland, that a deal could get done, and this could only be part of getting a deal done. And I say that because the deal in Vegas, it blows. It's not a better situation for the A's. It's a worse market. It's a saturated market. It's a market that's not interested in having a summer baseball team. It is bound to fail. And therefore, I still believe that there will be a way to keep the A's in Oakland.
David, what's going on with Brian Cashman? I'm enjoying it, but what's your thought?
Let me explain. Let me explain this part to the audience.
Okay.
Brian Cashman told Gary Phillips of the Daily News of Giancarlo Stanton, quote, I'm not going to tell you he's going to play every game next year because he's not. He's going to wind up getting hurt again, more likely than not, because it seems to be part of his game. that last part there,
it's
part.
It's a shot, Dan. Yeah.
I mean, it's injury seems to be a part of his game. Who's done?
Cashman.
Why?
Done.
Why?
You don't survive that.
What do you mean?
That is unacceptable.
What,
that
telling
your
the
GM
truth?
calls out your player that way.
He's telling the truth, David.
I don't care. The business we're in is not telling the truth. The business we're in is public posturing. It's telling the media and the fans the best message you can, always being positive, always having the back of your players. You think for 1 minute that this is going away? You think that Aaron Judge is going to stand for Cashman calling out his friend Giancarlo? No chance.
David, hold on just a second. Go get your glass of water. Go find water. We'll come back to you here. You did excellent use of the cough button.
Amazing.
There. Better than anyone here has used it in 20 years. Just want to make sure you're okay. But you're saying something very strong there, David. You're saying Cashman is done. No one else is saying that.
No one else is also saying that the A's are staying in Oakland. Who is this kook?
What are you doing?
I am not a kook, Mike. I'm trying to explain to people what actually happens behind the scenes of owners' meetings and what this vote actually means, because the headlines are all going to be wrong. It's possible the A's will still relocate, but when you read a headline that says A's relocation confirmed because owners vote 30-0 to relocate, that is a misleading, incorrect headline.
But what do you mean Cashman is done? He's not done. He still has a job.
Well, he currently still has a job, but this is the beginning of the end, and it started with that front page cuss-filled, and I don't say cuss, but Hal Steinbrenner called it that curse-filled diatribe when he said, oh, we're effing good. I don't know what everybody's talking about. Cashman's acting in a way I've never seen him act since he started in baseball, and he's been at the Yankees a long time, and it can get to you, and I feel like that he has maybe something snapped, because when you say that about your player who you're paying $32 million for, who you traded for, is that really the sign of somebody who's going to stick around? Hal Steinbrenner is going to have no choice if the Yankees don't perform this coming season. He's finally going to have to do what George would have done years ago, and that's fire Brian Cashman.
David, you said he upset Aaron Judge. He upset the clubhouse, potentially other players. How do you know the players in that clubhouse aren't thinking what Brian Cashman said? That this guy is getting $32 million a year and he never plays 100 games.
I love where your head's at, because it doesn't matter. None of that matters, even if the players think it. How many times did the Marlins players, and this will hit close to home, How often did they publicly go against Hanley Ramirez? How often did the 03 players publicly go against Pudge Rodriguez? How often?
Publicly, not at all. Privately, they were doing it all the time.
Correct. So all I'm talking about is publicly, the Yankees will have to come out and say, and the players, because they're going to be asked about it when spring training starts, this story's not going anywhere. You think that Stanton and Judge and Boone are not going to be asked by the media about Cashman's statements about Stanton? Even though we're only in November, this story will last through February. It's guaranteed to.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Cuss or curse. Roy, the Panthers' defense has been fairly extraordinary. Your thoughts?
Yeah, the special teams has been very good as well. Of course, the defense is going to get better once Montour and Eckler comes back. But the entire team defense has been, so far, above average, despite all the injuries.
Roy, I think you should do after the game wearing vampires' fangs to add a little bit of spice to the proceedings. No one else has a hockey show that is hosted by a vampire.
It's not fair that Roy's the only one who's had a real punishment because Greg Cody loved having his hand in mayonnaise yesterday. He absolutely loved it.
Yes.
Jeremy loved doing whatever that accent was. Like, he was born to be a theater kid for that punishment. And now Stugotz is in sweats.
Right. I love being Rocky.
You are correct. Also, the only punishment about the mayonnaise was symbolically the white man got up at the end and the brown people cleaned it up for him. Left mayonnaise behind, left a soggy bagel that he was using as an armrest, left a thermos that is still here that is responsible for his gargling and gurgling on air.
Why was the bagel wet? It was so wet from his forearm.
It's very confusing. I think it was just sweat in general. I've got a number of questions here for Samson. I should tell people that Pablo Lopez is going to join us at the end of this hour. I've been stunned by how good he is, David. I didn't think his time with the Marlins was a fluke, but I also didn't think he'd be someone who could strike out 9 batters to start a game or be top 5 in Cy Young voting.
I'm not sure where, as a scout, you're saying you didn't think that?
When I saw him pitching, I didn't think that's one of the best pitchers in baseball.
Which, of course, is why you have a media show.
You did.
Everyone in baseball certainly thought that.
You knew. The only guy who couldn't get anything out of Nathan Eovaldi, you knew.
What? We got plenty out of Eovaldi.
You're lashing out.
I mean, what are you talking about? I admit a vulnerability, and what does he do? I know all. I know everybody who's going to be good. I knew Pablo Lopez was going to be top 5 in Cy Young voting.
Can you just explain, before we get past this, when you do your, and maybe I just don't get the show, but when you do your punishments and your grid of death and bucket of death or whatever you do, why would one of the punishments be something that hurts the quality of the audio of a show that's audio?
Because it doesn't. It makes it funnier. It's one of the only palatable ways for the audience to enjoy Panther talk.
Thanks, Dan.
But you've been surprised by this, have you not?
You don't get the show.
I may not. No, I think that if you ask people in baseball, they would not say that they're surprised at all. However, some trades are just good for both teams. It's hard to argue that the Marlins didn't get the better part of the trade because they got the silver slugger, but they really got a batting champion and they got a leader at the top of the lineup in Arias. But you got to give to get. And too often in Marlins history, the trades have been money dumps where you weren't getting quality back in return and you were trading quality for quantity of crap and bait and hop. In this case, it was a real baseball trade that benefited both teams. I think it's great.
The Panthers are surprisingly deep at forward, Roy.
Yeah, probably deepest they've ever been. I mean, even the fourth line is scoring. You got Ryan Lomberg and Kevin Stinlin. Ryan Lomberg and Kevin Stinlin, they scored goals last night in San Jose, so they're very deep.
Dan, can you name 3 forwards for the Panthers?
Well, just the ones that he named.
Yeah.
I could just
Well
repeat
done.
what it is that he said. Can you please play for me this Senate fight that we had last night?
We're debating something back here. Are your vampire teeth upside down? Because this is the first vampire with an underbite I've ever seen.
Mike, I noticed that. I was going to say something.
It might be Roy.
Usually the longest
They're equal in size, but I've
right?
never seen an underbite on a vampire ever.
Your lower fangs seem longer than your upper fangs. They do.
Can you switch it?
Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's
I
see.
also don't think that those are vampire teeth. Actually, those look like some kind of animal.
Let's
See,
hear how
that
he
makes a
talks.
little bit more sense.
No, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah, but the underbite is gone.
Ask the forward question again, Dan.
Roy, it looks better now. I think you had them upside down, and I also think that that's the better way because I think it's harder to talk with them upside down. Tell me more about this Panthers depth at forward.
Like I said, Ryan Lomberg and Kevin Stinley, they both scored last night, and that fourth line has good chemistry right now. So, yeah.
Now you sound like a Southern hick.
Whoa, careful there.
I wanted to talk to you about this Senate fight, David. Let's look at this. I said earlier this week, we get the leadership that we deserve, and I don't know if that's right now that I think about it, because I do think that we deserve better than this, in Congress.
Pretends like he's self-made. What a clown. Fraud. Always has been, always will be. Quit the tough guy act in these Senate hearings. You know where to find me. Any place, any time, cowboy. Sir, this is a time, this is a place. If you want to run your mouth, we can be two consenting adults. We can finish it here.
Okay, that's fine. Perfect.
You want to do it now?
I'd love to do it right now.
Well, stand your butt up then.
You stand your butt up.
Oh, hold on.
Big guy.
Oh, stop it.
Is that your solution?
Hold it. No, sit down. Sit down. Okay. You're a United States Senator. Sit down.
Active.
Oh, okay.
Sit down, please.
All right.
Can I respond? Mr.
Hold it. If we can, no,
This is
I have
what
the
he
mic.
said.
I'm sorry.
This is
hold
what
it.
he said.
You'll have your time.
Okay.
Can I respond?
Oh, no, you can't. This is a hearing.
He took the ring off, man. He was ready to throw down.
And he had the thickness that suggested some experience with the throwing down when you fill out dress clothes that way. But what are we doing, David?
What's the movie where the guy uses the ring when he punches someone and leaves the ring mark? Mike, you may have this at the tip of your
Is it
tongue.
Green Lantern?
Ace Ventura, where Ace Ventura is trying to find out who's missing a diamond on their Super Bowl ring, so he gets punched by looking at someone at the urinal, and he counts the diamonds that are indented into his forehead.
Not what I was thinking of, but also true.
Was that Scott Mitchell?
That was a good job by you.
I thought that was boat camp.
That was Mike gave you a lot of detail. I just threw out a flailing Green Lantern because I had no earthly idea. Do you still not know though? Have you come closer to knowing? Are we just going to flounder around here?
No, we can finish floundering because it'll come to me. I can picture the actor. He's one of the character actors. He's got the huge face, and he's always the meat. He's the meathead.
Oliver
who
Platt?
punches people.
Oliver Platt has a
No,
huge
not
face.
Oliver Platt.
Elijah Wood. Are you thinking of Lord of the Rings?
No.
David,
No, he's a huge guy. So these Senate hearings are really posturing. They don't accomplish a whole lot. You get subpoenaed to appear, and it's generally used to inform the public about things that are going on that the Senate is, and they do hearings on steroids, or they do hearings on antitrust, or they do hearings on things that don't actually impact too many people. The majority of Senate work gets done behind the scenes with lobbyists in the offices. Sometimes it gets done on the floor, like Survivor at Tribal Council when the vote changes. But this is all just about getting clicks and getting popularity. And it just makes all of us look bad at all times. But it has zero impact on people's voting for a particular senator. That's the sad part.
Trevor Bauer's agent continues to try and get him work. I don't know that we've had an example exactly like Trevor Bauer in terms of being excellent and not being able to play and being out of the sport. And
Barry Bonds.
And you have said, yes, thank you, but with this as what surrounds him, where he is, he's a person who has ended up being a weapon for people on the right. He has become a weapon for people who want to hate women, who want to think that women are gold diggers or make up things in order to take advantage of athletes. And he has produced his own edited evidence on why it is that he is innocent. And now his agent is trying to get him back into the sport. And I'm not used to teams in sports making moral stands with arms like this. So and you've said he'll never play again. And I wouldn't assume that he will play again. He had to go to Japan, where evidently it's more okay that Trevor Bauer stands accused of this kind of sexual assault violence during sex he claims is consensual. But what's going to happen here?
His agent is someone named Rachel Luba, who is really just his mouthpiece. She's not an agent who's taken seriously in any way in the industry. Trevor Bauer is persona non grata. He's untouchable. There will not be a team who signs him, and it's not collusion. He can grieve it all he wants. He can go to court all he wants. He will not be able to prove, and the reason he can't prove it is that every team can go before a judge and say the juice is not worth the squeeze. There is no reason why we would have him. And the judge cannot say, but wait a minute, you have a hole in your rotation. Wait a minute, you were the bottom 10 in ERA last year.
Wait a minute, wait a minute, he's excellent. Like, you're telling me he would not have a collusion case?
Correct. Because there'd be no way to prove anything other than, from a moral standpoint, owners get to choose who they want to employ, like all employers do, and they can choose for whatever reason they want. And that they individually chose to say, he's not worthy of being on my team. Now, is it true that conversations take place among GMs, among presidents, among owners? Yes. Does that mean it's collusion? No. But is it made very clear that Trevor Bauer will never be in the major leagues again? Yes, it is.
What's the movie you're reviewing for us this week? I should tell people again, Adnan Virk does his movie podcast, Cinephile, and David would badly like to do a movie podcast, but cannot and will not because he's got a lot of other responsibilities at Meadowlark Media, but he sneaks in movies wherever he can on Nothing Personal, and he watches one every day. So what are you reviewing for us today?
I do review one every day. I have one for you, Mike. This is our second week in a row. How is it that Nicolas Cage releases a movie every week? I haven't been able to figure that out. I don't know where he gets the time. But he has a new movie called Butcher's Crossing, where he actually shaved his head, and I thought he had a toupee or some sort of hair color situation going on. He went full head shave, full beard, and it's about the 1800s where people would kill buffalo and sell the buffalo hides. And he takes a Harvard student who says, I don't want to be at Harvard anymore. I want to hunt buffalo and make money this way. And they go on this crazy hunt for buffalo. And it's not like Brokeback Mountain, but sort of. And it's not like Silverado. It's a movie where there is guns and gunplay and weird sort of buffalo hide scraping and hunting and killing. And Nicolas Cage spends the entire movie as this big, bad buffalo hunting guy. And all I kept thinking is, how much did he get paid for this movie? And who is his agent? Because I assume his agent has washed his hands of Nicolas Cage and said, hey, Nick, I'm sending you 10 scripts. You're going to say yes to all 10. No problem. Don't worry about your career. Don't worry about your career trajectory. Keep making crap because the checks keep clearing. And that's all he's doing, and it makes me very sad.
We have less than a minute left. Mike Ryan is one of the world's largest Nicolas Cage fans. He has a pillow in his home of Nicolas Cage's bloated face.
It's weird.
Before we get out of here, speaking of merch, because David Samson has a merch store. I see Juju. What are you showing? You're holding up there a doll-sized T-shirt.
That's mine, Dan.
It's David's shirt.
Okay.
Big brother.
Okay. It's a very small T-shirt, a toddler's T-shirt. But what's going on with our merch store? Because a lot of people are asking. You're in charge of it now, and a lot of people want to do this for the holidays.
Guess what? The Dan Le Batard merch store will be available, and we are launching on December 1st, so get ready. We have gotten this done. No one was able to get it done for years. We have worked together with people in your company, Dan, and we will have a launch. There will be great, amazing holiday deals. There will be great quality merchandise delivered in time for your holidays, and we will not screw it up this time, I guarantee you.
Roy, tell me about the rookie defenseman for the Panthers.
Over Belinkus.
A tweeter writes in, Stugotz, either overhaul the bucket of death or get rid of it altogether. This bit has gotten so bad. Too many people doing it. Way too easy to take an L to the point that the punishments carry no weight. NFL is unpredictable, and to have to pick games every week for 18 weeks, one person can easily rack up 8 or 9 punishments in one season. We know that nobody is doing 8 punishments, and no one is going to chase down multiple people with so many stupid unpaid punishments. It's gotten so diluted. Gotten so diluted.
I'm wearing sweatpants.
Gotten so diluted. I've hated this thing since the beginning.
Juju Gotti for commissioner 2024, ladies and gentlemen.
No, Billy rules with an iron fist. I don't know what you guys are
I am
complaining
willing
about.
right now to overthrow our government and put Juju in charge of the grid of death. Because what Stugotz is doing right here, right now,
Yes.
is pathetic. And
It's not what I was supposed to do. I'm happy to do what I'm supposed to do, but no one, gave me the stuff. They just gave me a sweatshirt. I mean, and it's small.
When I walked past and was told, hey, we need to get a costume quickly for Stugotz, he's got to pay a punishment today. All I heard, I didn't know anything else, was we have accessories and he's got to be shirtless. And I'm like, gold. And I wasn't talking about the accessories. I'm like, that is visual joke. I don't have to do anything today. Stugotz is just going to sit there shirtless. We can do anything today, and it'll be successful.
I never agreed to any penalty that had me shirtless. I would never do that at this age, at this stage of my life. Dan, I've gained 30 pounds.
Okay, but this is all. You have to understand my disappointment right now.
Okay.
And let's go real quick, because I thought there have been a couple of things that have happened lately on the primetime football that we haven't gotten to, okay? Justin Pugh saying during his introduction, straight off the couch, excellent work in 3 seconds. Like, you've got 3 seconds to introduce yourself to America. You sit there and you just say, Justin Pugh. Everyone else is giving their school. I'm saying straight off the couch, instant star as an offensive lineman. Another thing that happened, though, this weekend, or Monday night, whenever that Buffalo game was, is that Deion Dawkins, an offensive lineman, showed up at the facility and went through security, Stugotz. And I don't know what he was doing beforehand. I wish I had the confidence of this man to drive into the stadium shirtless. He is a large man. He is jiggly, and he got to work wearing sweats and a T-shirt. And I'm simply assuming, no T-shirt. No T-shirt,
yeah.
And sneakers, excuse me, is what I meant to say. And he is shirtless, and I assume, for some reason, not unlike Ron Artest one time, I think he got locked out of his hotel and showed up at a playoff game in his underwear because he just took the team bus, like on a corporate-sponsored bus, to the arena. I assume there's got to be a great backstory here. This is not just a person who comes to these games like this every time. Is it?
You assume that there's some sort of mystery as to why he decided to do this. This is super look at me. I think the reason is he just wanted to show up to work shirtless.
And you would, if you looked like that, you think a lot of people have the confidence? Stugotz is sitting here telling us that because he's gained 30 pounds, he doesn't want to give us the visual payoff today of him sitting in front of that camera angle shirtless because the internet is forever and the internet is cruel, and he'd want to sit somewhere else. I wouldn't want to sit there either.
Outside.
I wouldn't wish that on much of anybody around here, honestly.
He's an offensive lineman. I think there's an understood unspoken contract between offensive linemen and sports fans that you're supposed to look that way.
Right. I'm not.
Also, Bills Mafia gives you unreasonable confidence, so I see what's happening.
Well, Juju, thank you. I'm glad you're here because I think you were first this week to the trough of fire Sean McDermott. I was shocked. You're a source of positivity. You don't go around running around firing people, but you clearly are fed up because this man is disappointing one of the great fan bases.
Absolutely. I was the first to say it this season. I said it around week 3. Watch out for this man. And he's done everything I said he would do. First of all, you got a scapegoat in Ken Dorsey. Josh Allen is one of the top-rated quarterbacks in the NFL. He has the highest points, whatever the
He's very efficient.
Yeah,
he throws the ball far, and it's successful.
Their offense is a top 7 offense in the NFL, too.
You dig? And he didn't send out 12 men at the end of that game. He didn't rush. He didn't send the house whenever it was 3rd and long. He didn't send the house when it was 3rd and long in the beginning of the 4th quarter. That team has a lot of injuries on the defensive side of the ball, but the questionable moves are coming from the top, big brother. You can't get on camera and say, it was my decision to fire him when you've been that goofy. Sir, I would allow you, please look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, is that a goof I'm looking at? And I think the answer is yes, unresoundingly.
All right. Yep. Put it on the poll resoundingly, not unresoundingly, resoundingly.
You get to looking at me with those beautiful eyes of yours. I get nervous, baby.
That's all right. And you are fired up about this. And I understand because, Stugotz, I imagine a lot of people are making the point today that if they hadn't had 12 men on the field, Dorsey would still be employed, correct?
Yes, they win the game.
One would assume he wouldn't be fired after a victory, right? That doesn't happen very often.
Here's a stat courtesy of Mina Kimes, who will be making her return to our show this week. I'm excited about that. The Bills' offense through Week 10, 3rd in DVOA, 1st in success rate, 3rd in EPA, 4th in QBR, 3rd in yards per play, 2nd in 3rd down conversion, 3rd in red zone efficiency. Here's a stat that you don't see tossed around often. Josh Allen, 1st in interceptions. They turn the ball over a lot, and it mitigates a lot of their great numbers on offense. They needed a scapegoat for this. As Juju pointed out, they've had loads of injuries on the defensive side of the ball. They've never been able to run the ball well. I'd venture to say they're probably running the ball with more effectiveness now than when they were with a hair's breadth of the Super Bowl. So I think they just needed a scapegoat. Ken Dorsey ends up being the guy because Daboll isn't there, so surely this is the thing that's changed with Josh Allen. Maybe Josh Allen's changed because we're getting a sample now where the outlier might be the 2 years where he was right up there, gunslinging with Patrick Mahomes, guy you'd want to build your franchise around. The comp for Josh Allen has always been Cam Newton. has always been Cam Newton. And now he's following it to a T in terms of the dip, only he doesn't have a car accident to point to as the reason.
Is Ken Dorsey to the Hurricanes something that I should be worried about?
No, I don't think so. They've had conversations. Joe Brady has become the offensive coordinator there. I know he was a hot name in college circles, but he likes the pro game like a lot of coaches. He's just jettisoned himself away from the college game. But yeah, if you want to know, like in the group chat, the Miami Hurricanes have already hired Ken Dorsey and Chip Kelly as analysts.
I am tired of people getting on Josh Allen. I understand the turnovers. I do. I get it. But some of them are not his fault. Some of them. I'm not saying all of them are not his fault. I would kill to have Josh Allen as my quarterback. I would. I'm a Jets fan. We've never had a quarterback. To have someone that elite, that good, that athletic, I would kill to have him. And I would venture to say just about every team, with the exception of 3 or 4, right now, today, would trade their quarterback for Josh Allen.
So true, Stugotz. His hands are so big.
And whenever they announced Trent Sherfield was our big offseason acquisition, I looked at Sean McDermott instantly. Brother, what are you doing? And look at you now.
Mike, I am going to make a correction on what it is that you said, and I'm going to make a correction on myself that a lot of people made yesterday. You called it a hair's breadth, and I want to know what that is. And they were a hair's breadth from the Super Bowl, and the place that I got it wrong yesterday, and I think this is what you mean by a hair's breadth. I kept saying they were 13 seconds from the Super Bowl. There was another game after that required to get to the Super Bowl, but I feel like we all watched at the end of that game who was going to go to the Super Bowl, Chiefs and Bills, and we all saw that the Bills were good enough to be a champion that year.
And I believe the Bengals actually made it to the Super Bowl that year, if I'm remembering correctly.
I think they did,
we made that game. It's the Mandela effect. We made that game the AFC Championship when I think none of the teams actually made it to the AFC Championship.
Second round of the
Yes, forgive me because I kept doing that yesterday. I took those 13 seconds left, and I'm not.
It felt like it did. It did.
But this is why I feel like they were a hair's breadth, which makes no sense. It's a hair breathing, but he's also right. That they missed the Super Bowl.
It was a hair's breadth.
We felt that makes no sense.
Be careful with the silent D and hair's breadth.
Imagine a hair breathing, and that was the difference between the Bills and winning a championship that year in those 13 seconds, according to me, who's got his facts and timeline wrong.
That is absolutely a Mandela effect in sports.
It all blends together when you get to a certain age, right?
Yes.
I feel like most people listening to this, now many of you rained down on my head the correction. Thank you for doing so. It's really the battering I need.
They love to do it.
That's so funny. Thank you for the reminder that the Bengals made that Super Bowl.
I think. I'm not sure.
They
still.
definitely did.
No, the Bengals made that Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, they
Burrow
definitely
went to
did.
Kansas City. They beat the Chiefs.
Evan McPherson,
Yeah.
He guaranteed Burrow we're going.
You show me another 13 seconds somewhere in sports that have that in it, where most of you didn't know I was wrong. Many of you did, but most of you are like, yeah, they were 13 seconds from the Super Bowl that
I'm just
year.
learning this.
Dan just confirmed it. I don't even have to check the internet. That's how I remember it too.
Sean McDermott 13 seconds away from the unemployment line if he don't get his act together.
Especially with Belichick. I mean, he's out there looming. That'd be a perfect spot for Bill Belichick.
I have a hard time explaining to our audience that
I'm unemployed.
this is not maximum Homer alert when all of us buck up on the firing of Ken Dorsey on behalf of Miami against those naughty, awful Bills.
I'm always going to be in the tank for Ken Dorsey. I think his track record with taking talented quarterbacks that were presumed to be more raw when they entered the league. Cam Newton totally changed as a quarterback when Ken Dorsey arrived as his quarterback coach. A lot of the credit to what happened with Josh Allen went to Brian Daboll, and I'm not taking any shine away from Brian Daboll. But at the same time, Ken Dorsey came to Buffalo and became Josh Allen's quarterback coach. It's not like he's not doing his job well. Their numbers are good.
This part, though, is fascinating to me. It truly is. You've seen all the people on the Belichick tree, right, who got an opportunity because Brady was great, and they parsed up the credit on why it is that he was great.
Of course.
So now you're running out of people to tell you, when Daboll's clearly not some magician who can fix that, you're running out of people who made Josh Allen Great, but one of them, Trayvon Diggs, is here to tell you, is his brother. Because we're now going to parse up the breakup, and this is how the windows close on these things. Who gets the credit before everybody flees? Because Belichick's out there alone with the Patriots. And it's like, and we're just showing, we're showing a doorbell camera video of him taking a shirtless walk of shame. That guy used to be a genius.
Big week for shirtlessness inside the AFC East.
You see nothing funny, Roy, in the way that you are staring at me, holding up a finger, telling me that we are starting our segment, and I am looking at more of your mouth than I ever get to see because you're wearing vampire's teeth. But when you're giving me the professional signal that we are starting our broadcast, you don't know or remember that you're wearing these vampire fangs that are hanging out of your mouth, correct? So you are in the role you've been in for 20 years, but this happens to all of you on Halloween, right? You forget you're in the costume?
No, I remember.
Absolutely.
This doesn't happen to people? You don't think people are looking at you strange sometimes because you've forgotten you're wearing a crazy wig or something?
We've established that you're the kinky type and you're often in costume. I guess I'm not in costume enough to be so comfortable that I forget.
Because you don't serve any of your grid of death punishment.
No, I've only lost twice. Did you call out Jesus in a wrestling promo? I didn't see that.
Nope. I went to my homeboy's birthday party. It was around Halloween, and I dressed up as Batman, and there was a lot of gangsters there, so we was watching the football. Around the end of the party, I was in the middle of a whole bunch of gangsters with a Batman suit on, and I was so embarrassed, and I felt so lame, man. Salute to my homeboy for playing me like this.
Chris Cody, who is rushing in from somewhere late, writes in to me via text, I don't believe Stugotz would kill for Josh Allen. This is something Stugotz said that if Chris Cody had been here, he would have called him on it at the spot.
Right.
How do you guys imagine? I want you guys to imagine Stugotz as a Jets fan. He now has to kill somebody in order to get Josh Allen as his quarterback. How would he go about doing this? How do you imagine this exercise would go? Who is the person? It would be me, wouldn't it?
No, it'd be Zach Wilson, probably.
You killed Zach Wilson.
You'd be in the top 5, but I mean, it wouldn't be.
I think the NFL is rightfully knee-jerk because one game, that's a 17th of your season. The sample size is skewed because it's a smaller sample altogether. But the reaction to Josh Allen's performance on Monday was, toxic, rightfully. Not enough credit being given to Vance Joseph. This is a defense that gave 70 points up to the Miami Dolphins. And over the last month, they've totally changed what they're doing. So credit to him. But I started trying to figure out where the tipping point was because when he was a hair's breadth away from the Super Bowl, which actually wasn't even in the conference championship game against Kansas City, I think the general feeling was he's a top 3 quarterback. And that's changed some. And the one that I thought was the spiciest comp, I asked a Cowboy fan straight up, coming after a great Dak Prescott performance, who would you rather have, Dak Prescott or Josh Allen?
It's ridiculous.
They said Dak Prescott.
Right. Ask him after a bad one, though.
Who turns it over plenty as well, and it's his fatal flaw as well. The thing that we were discussing yesterday, Mike, is whether you can actually be someone, because they have changed, Stugotz, the rules. Aaron Rodgers changed this. That position can't turn the ball over, and everything about winning in the margins, where you see how close these games are, Stugotz, there ain't no greater advantage than that one. You keep getting the ball back, if you get it's worth more than even the other quarterback being great. Because if I keep taking the ball back and I keep reducing the winning margins, then all of a sudden that becomes the equivalent of a 70-yard pass interference call, Stugotz. Everyone's trying to get these 5 yards, Baker Mayfielding their way down the field, trying to get 7 yards, trying to get to 3rd and 2, but having the football. The other quarterback gives you the football. It's such a terrible flaw. It's the worst one he can have. It's worse than inconsistency. It's worse than he's not that good, but he's okay. It's what Josh Allen has, I believe, is something that keeps anyone who's ever been great at that position now from being great. You could throw 25 interceptions before. You cannot do it that way anymore. You will be Jameis Winston. You will become a backup quarterback.
Dan, he's not going to become a backup quarterback. I understand what you're saying. He needs to eliminate the turnovers. We all understand that. I will remind you that Patrick Mahomes has 8 interceptions this year, like Josh Allen has 11. The Bills should have won that game despite the turnovers,
Josh
Dan.
Allen fumbles too, though, Stugotz.
I know.
He fumbles also.
Because he's running the ball a lot, or at least he was before they had an actual running game.
But don't just say I know when you're giving me 11 and 8 as the numbers over since 2018, Stugotz. Like, I'm telling you, there's something here in the sport. Mike just gave you the Mina Kimes numbers. This Bills offense, when he doesn't turn it over, totally overwhelming, can win the Super Bowl. But that's not the Bills offense. What the Bills offense is, it does turn it over because their quarterback turns it over. He is reckless, he is fun, he is swaggering, but it's a huge flaw that makes me tilt all of the game's math in a way that I'm like, how can you be great if that's on your resume?
To your point, Dan, he does lead the league in fumbles. He's actually only fumbled 4 times, but he's lost 3 of them. Interestingly enough, Tua has fumbled 8 times this season.
Crazy.
And he has only lost 2. So a little bit of luck there for Tua.
If the Dolphins right now got a call from the Bills and said, hey, we'll send you Josh Allen, you send us Tua, what do you think?
No, you got to look at the cap numbers. Right now, you go with Tua, even though you're going to have to pay Tua. But the Josh Allen contract
I understand what you're doing, Stugotz. We all fall in love with that at the quarterback position.
Well, Dan,
who doesn't want?
But I'm coming at it.
He's a galloping guy that's hard to tackle, that is more of an athlete than almost everyone he's playing, and he's got the most giant arm in the league.
The craziest part about Josh Allen when it comes to evaluation is no one said that coming out of college.
Right.
That he's this galloping athlete that is basically Cam Newton, not the book on him.
But understand where I'm coming from. I'm coming at this as a Jet fan. I'm coming at this as a guy whose best quarterback over the last 20 years has been Mark Sanchez. Like, that's how I'm viewing this. And so, yes, would I kill to have Josh Allen? Probably not. I wouldn't kill. But I would love to have Josh Allen as my quarterback because he's great.
Even when he turns the ball over, there's still plenty to like about his game.
Yeah, like you said, it's not talked about enough, the fumble handoff to James Cook and in the crunch time, you know what I mean? And
yes.
He just has this habit. He has to get it out of his system some kind of way.
Juju, the other one that's not his fault, is he put the ball right in Gabe Davis's hands. Gabe Davis does that occasionally.
Gabriel Butterfingers Davis, may I add.
He's a bad wide receiver.
And that's another thing. We have no receivers outside of Stephon Diggs. This is elephant in the room.
Yeah,
I love the Buffalo Bills.
Mafia.
I love the Philadelphia Eagles. I bleed green and I bleed blue.
The only reason I ask on we is because Peyton Manning caught flack from his brother Eli because he was on the Broncos. He was going us, and Eli was yelling at him. It's been 8 years, and Peyton's got 2 us's. So you have 2 we's, and Jessica has 9 we's.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh wait, I don't know how many we's she got. I got 1, but when the Buffalo Bills get a receiving core,
you just said you had 2 we's.
Freudian slip. Whenever the Buffalo Bills get some talent outside of Josh Allen, outside of Stephon Diggs on the defensive side, we will survive. But now we are goofy. Who are you throwing the ball to?
All right, well, you just said something, and this I don't think bodes well as Ken Dorsey gets fired. Juju just said he's got to get this out of his system. That is not a cure for much of anything. Your analysis is not incorrect, but I don't know what he's got. It. You said it's the truth that Brian Cashman says of Stanton. This is a part of his game. Injuries are a part of his game. Right. This is a part of his system.
Right. But it wasn't that 1 year. I mean.
That's right. That 1 year he had the Tua thing where he fumbles 8 times and he only loses 2 of them.
I don't think you're going to be able to keep Diggs. This offseason was a bit tumultuous with Stephon Diggs. And, look, they're always restructuring contracts in the NFL. Josh Allen just entering this year restructured his contract so they can keep Diggs on the books for this season. But next year, his base salary does go up to $23 million, and it's a $47 million cap hit when he's only an $18 million cap hit this year. Again, the NFL salary cap is a myth, and teams always find ways around this. But you're not going to get more talent around Josh Allen. You're going to get more Gabe Davises of the world.
We have done way too much Bills talk, and I can tell because she can be accurate in terms of measurements on weather. When Jessica fades off into land where she's tracking jets or looking up stories on what's happening at Panera Bread, we're about 5 minutes too long this week into Bills talk, and she has drifted off. Is it the Panera Bread story? Is it the Jets you're tracking?
I've been trying to find the NFL.com Josh Allen draft comparison because they always do like the player comps on that site. I mean, a lot of sites do it, but I can only find Kentucky Josh Allen, not Wyoming Josh Allen. And because Mike, was your point that the analysis was that he wasn't good on his feet coming out of college? Because I think that was one of the
what Mike
things.
Ryan was saying is we didn't get a whole lot of what an amazing athlete this is on Josh Allen. I think that
the comps that I saw coming out of college, even though he's shorter, was Brock Osweiler when he's closer to Cam Newton. I didn't see a lot of Josh Allen as Cam Newton. I saw a lot of Josh Allen as the next Brock Osweiler.
all of us were a little bit surprised because of the way Josh Allen was analyzed at Wyoming, and we hadn't seen him play. We did not realize, oh, wait a minute, this is a Justin Herbert type. This isn't just a big quarterback. This is a quarterback who, like Trevor Lawrence, will run away from your defense. That's not. All of us were surprised the first time that he ran 60 yards with the football. All of us were like, oh, there's some Lamar Jackson there, but he's got 60 more pounds of muscle. It's why you get infatuated with him. But, Jessica, you have been obsessed with the Panera Bread story.
Well, I've actually. Can we go back to flight tracking for a second? There's been a lot of it's flight tracking season, Dan. There's been a lot to track the last week, and I saw recently a screenshot. It's hard on Twitter now to verify what's real and what someone has photoshopped, because there was a Photoshop thing of one of Jamie Chadwell's tweets yesterday that got debunked fairly quickly, but a lot of people fell for it. And I did see a screenshot of a flight tracking of a private jet going from College Station to Eugene, which people were, like they're trying to hire Dan Lanning, they're flying their private jet. And I still haven't been able to find it, because in this Twitter era, it's just so easy to see, it's a blogger for the site, maybe it's not, maybe it's like a fake everyone's a ball sack to me, Dan. And so I've been trying to track this flight
To
for
me
a while.
To me too, Jessica.
Not to me.
To me too. I want T-shirts made. Everyone's a ball sack. I am wandering through the labyrinth that is social media, and at every turn, I turn to my right, there's a ball sack. I got to be careful. To my left, there's a ball sack. I'm scared of
That's
all
how
of
I feel
it.
at work too. I have my eyes on College Station though. If something big happens, mark my words.
Okay,
I've got my eye on their private airport.
Who was on the plane?
Presumably like their athletic director, but also it could just be some rich guy.